I hadn't walked away from the idea that I might run for office again. Well, if I ran again, I'd be running for president. And so what was happening though, what month did Bo die? May 30th,
2015.
was it 2015 he had died?
Maybe 2015.
I think it's 2015.
I'm not sure the months are, but I think it was.
Yeah.
That's right, Mr. President.
And what's happened in the meantime is that Trump gets elected in November of 2017? 2016. All right. So, why do I have 2017 here?
That's when you left office, January of 2017.
Okay. But that's when Trump gets sworn in then,
Right.
January.
Right. Correct.
Okay, yeah. And in 2017, Bo had passed, and this is personal. The genesis of the book and the title "Promise Me, Dad" was I know you're all close with your sons and daughters, but Bo was like my right arm, and that was my left. These guys were a year and a day apart, and they could finish each other's sentences. And
classified material on other topics. That also happened when you were vice president?
beyond the PDB?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. And were there ever occasions, I'll ask the same question I asked before about the PDB, about this other category of classified documents. Were there occasions when you thought, I want to hang on to this. I got to read it again. I got to think about it some more. I got to wait until something else comes out.
If it was marked with if it was in a binder or had a marking on a top secret, that cover page or eyes only, then I would always give that back and have them hold it wherever they held it, and for me to. But lots of times what happens is, Pat Moynihan was right, we overclassify everything. And one of the things that for example, every time Jake writes me a memo, he puts on it eyes only. Well, 99% of what's in there is not classified material. So Jake, now I'll read it, go through it, mark it up, ask questions on it for him to get back to me. But I finally said, Jake, only mark those things which really are eyes only, eyes only. But it's so easy just to say, anything I'm writing must be eyes only. And 99.9% of it has nothing to do with anything I couldn't pick up and read out loud to the public. Am I making any sense to you?
Yes.
Okay.
Understood.
Was this memo, Mr. President, was this something that you consciously kept after your term as vice president? Is this something that you wanted to hold on to?
I don't recall whether did I have this? Was this in my possession, this memo?
Yes, and to give you some context for this, Mr. President, it was found in the front of this notebook that's on the first page, and the notebook was found in the library at the Lake House in one of the drawers in the cabinet.
You don't recall.
I don't recall how it got back. I don't recall how it got back in the book because I sent it to the president. I gave it to the president. And this looks like the original. I don't think maybe there's a copy made of it, but I don't think so.
It was faxed, just to give you
Oh,
some
okay,
context.
that's why.
Yeah.
All right, now I got it.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure whether I handed it to the president. If it was faxed to the president, which I had the copy.
Right.
Okay.
You had the original.
Yeah, I had the original, and I just put it in the book, and that was it.
Okay. Were you aware that you had kept it after your term as vice president? Did you know that you had it?
I don't know that I knew, but it wasn't something I would have stopped to think about.
The reason I ask is it's been written about. Bob Woodward wrote about it in one of his books. Jules Whitcover wrote about it in his biography of you. So that's the reason I asked, is if it was something that you wanted to hang on to because it was going to be the subject of reporting or history.
I don't want to be subject to reporting, but I wanted to hang. I guess I wanted to hang on to it just for posterity's sake. I mean, this was my position on Afghanistan, and later it became discussed, unrelated to my discussion. It became discussed inside the foreign policy establishment, which I was recommending. And anyway,
I mentioned a couple of books. And yesterday, you mentioned that there was a book you were thinking about writing before you decided to run for president. Did you ever consider writing a book, a memoir, or anything else where you discussed the Afghanistan debate in 2009 and your position on it? Did you ever think about writing about that?
no, give you my word, I never thought about that.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
When I was talking about writing a book, I've been of the view, from a historical standpoint, that there are certain points in history, world history, where fundamental things change, usually technology. For example, without Gutenberg's printing press, Europe would be a very different place. Literally a different place, because countries would not have known what was happening in other countries, other parts of the country. You know, think about a stupid idea, a notion. Nixon probably would have been president where he used the television, where he's sweating, I mean sincerely, he was sweating so profusely in that debate. A lot of people thought he won the debate, but he lost the debate because of his demeanor. So there's a lot of things that I think are fundamentally changing how international societies function, and they relate a lot to technology. And one of the things that I was of the view that a lot has changed in terms of everything from the internet to the way in which we communicate with one another, that has fundamentally altered the ability. I've had this discussion with the press.
Mr. President, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, I'm sorry. Anyway, that's what I wanted to do. It had nothing to do with Afghanistan.
Okay, that answered my question.
And Mark, just really quickly, I promise it'll be brief. I just really would like to avoid, for the purpose of a clean record, getting into speculative areas. When the president responded and said, I don't recall intending to keep this memo, you then said, well, you know, might you have thought it was important to keep him, whatever, and he said, well, I guess I could have. His recollection, as I understand it, is he does not recall specifically intending to keep this memo after he left the vice presidency, and I want these questions to be as clearly answered and recorded on the transcript as possible.
I think we should take a break at this point. Can we talk briefly about
For example, do you recognize the Bow Iowa binder? Do you recognize the?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it before.
Okay.
But I think it was, what was it about? Anyway, I can't remember. Okay.
But do you remember how these materials got into this box and how that box got into the garage?
No, I don't remember how it got, I don't remember how the beat-up box got in the garage.
Okay. And do you remember how things like the Bow Iowa binder got into it?
No, somebody must have, packing this up, just picked up all this stuff and put it in a box. Because I didn't.
Okay. Do you have any idea where this material would have been before it got moved into the garage?
Well, if it was 2013, when did I stop being vice president?
2017.
So I was vice president. So it must have come from vice president stuff. That's all I can think of.
So it does have some material in here that relate to your activities post-vice presidency, like the Washington Secrets Bureau material. And there's also material in here that relates to the book Promise Me Dad with Mark Zwanitzer. So there's some that dates.
See, that's what makes me think, is just people gathered up whatever they found, and whenever the last thing was being moved. So the stuff moving out of the vice president's residence, at the end of the day, whatever they found, they didn't separate it out. You know, Speaker's Bureau and pen or whatever the hell it is, or bow, they just put it in a single box. That's the only thing I can think of.
So given the subjects that these files address, would these have been things that were at the Naval Observatory? Would they have been at Cambridge Road? But before they got here?
Well, they were clearly somewhere before they got there, so, no, I'm not being a wise guy, I'm being a, but, my guess is that, they, based on the dates, they were vice presidential material initially. They got put in a box and probably got sent either to the Penn Center or to Cambridge Road, or for some reason got sent up to Wilmington. But I don't think they didn't get to Wilmington until 2022 or something, right? Or 20, whatever, I don't know.
But to be clear, your question is whether he knows.
Correct.
Has a clear recollection of how they
No, I have
got
no
it.
idea.
Okay, I want to make sure it's
But
clear.
it's also helpful if he has thoughts as to
Well,
how.
I'd like to stay with his recollection and not put him in a position where he has to speculate or
Understood.
create assumptions or try to engage in detective work.
Understood.